Hello everyone, welcome back to your answer writing series, and today we are looking at finance question. The question today in the morning I gave was highlighting the instruments of monetary policy available with RBI, discuss how it not only acts as a banker to the commercial banks but also to government. 10 marker, you have to write in 400 words. Let me check the audio and video first. Okay, cool. We are live and the audio and video is pretty clear. Okay, everybody is having answer with them. So highlighting the instruments of monetary policy available with RBI. Simple. Go back to your either ESI or finance syllabus. Check out what monetary policy is. Check out the instruments which are associated with monetary policy. और सीधा का सीधा इस आंसर में फर्स्ट पार्ट इट्स स्टैटिक, नथिंग एल्स, कुछ क्रिएटिविटी नहीं, कुछ नहीं, जस्ट इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स लिखने हैं आपको मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी. सेकेंड पार्ट, discuss how it not only acts as a banker to the commercial banks. How monetary policy, always remember, monetary policy function किसका है, गवर्नमेंट का है कि आरबीआई का है, आरबीआई का है. But still, considering monetary policy, still when you consider RBI, therefore when RBI has the instruments of monetary policy with them, it acts as a bankers to the commercial bank, but at the same time it also acts as a banker to the government. So this question is about all that how much instruments of monetary policy are important as an instructive instrument overall in the banking system in tandem with RBI, and that's why how RBI is bankers bank also as well as lender of last resort also, that is for the government. Okay, do we understand this question pretty clear? If confusion is there, please mention in the comment section. Okay, once you understand this, now first, rather than jumping to the answers here, okay, I would say that better we will start, uh, rather than going and discussing directly and jumping into my answer here, which this is my answer actually guys, but I would say that it would be very good that we should discuss students answer first. So पहले students का answer देखते हैं. तो first answer is of नेहा. ठीक है, नेहा मैम ने लिखा है ये आंसर. ठीक है, देख लेते क्या क्या लिखा है. आई टेल यू वन थिंग, इंट्रोडक्शन इनका इतना इंप्रेसिव नहीं है. द आंसर विच हैज बीन रिटन इन दैट इंट्रोडक्शन इज नॉट दैट impressive. She starts with monetary policy instruments are tools instruments with central bank which uses its objectivity for targeting inflation with growth keeping in mind, with keeping growth in mind. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा ग्रामेटिकल सेंटेंस का एरर है यहाँ पर. RBI has various tools and then she is giving out monetary policy instruments. What is she talking about? She talks about repo rate, reverse repo rate, cash reserve ratio, reserve का spelling गलत है, statutory liquidity ratio, standing deposit facility, etc. Are there any students जिनको इनका meaning पता नहीं है? If there are students who don't know what repo rate, reverse repo rate, cash reserve ratio, statutory liquidity ratio and standing deposit facility is, definitely check out our courses. We have completed the overall syllabus also, and within this 20 days also you can clear it out. Repo rate is nothing but when the lending is like the rate at which the central bank provides the fund to the commercial bank. Normal banks can take the lending, that is RBI is lending to the other banks. RBI is lending commercial banks, rural banks, etc. Reverse repo rate is nothing but where commercial banks are lending RBI. Cash reserve ratio is nothing but a proportion of deposit of commercial banks is kept with RBI in cash. Statutory liquidity ratio is nothing but a proportion of deposit which is kept with banks but in form of highest liquidity such as gold and marketable securities which they can easily sell. And standing deposit facility, when we are talking about SDF, it is nothing but commercial banks whenever they are having excess deposit with them, they can park that deposit or they can transfer it to central bank and earn interest over it. Central bank can use that fund near itself, and that excess percentage interest it can give to the commercial banks. Now the main thing. So first thing was about how RBI is a banker's bank, that is banker to the commercial bank. So the function of RBI, she is talking about last resort to commercial bank. Commercial bank, either they are defaulting, in the sense, suppose they have given too much of loans. Those loans are not paid off. Those loans convert into stressed asset. The stressed assets convert into non-performing assets, NPA. Now the overall finances of the banks are in really bad shape. So to provide financial stability, RBI can come and rescue that bank. RBI in that stress like situation can provide enough liquidity as well as financial support to the bank. This is the main reason why sometimes RBI is called as bankers bank. So for any bank which is in emergency, RBI can free flow the fund towards that bank. Then it is also provides credit to the bank. It may be with high interest, but some limits and conditions are there. Other than that, there are various like e-Kuber platform is there. So based on e-Kuber platform, also various bank can anytime go to RBI and lends like take some money through the lending operations. Now this was related to commercial bank she has written. Now she is again writing a point with RBI as a banker to the government. So first point she is writing about issuance of securities. RBI issues treasury bills and government securities on the behalf of government. Auction is there and on e-Kuber only these government securities are sold. Government directly कभी अपने e-security बेचता नहीं है. Okay. Then agency function. It is nothing but try to understand RBI does not comes under government. आरबीआई इज अ एजेंट और आर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आरबीआई कभी भी गवर्नमेंट के नीचे आता है. ऐसा कोई भी कानून नहीं है या फिर कोई भी एक्ट नहीं है विच टेल्स समथिंग लाइक आरबीआई फॉल्स अंडर एनी गवर्नमेंट और अंडर फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री और समथिंग लाइक दैट. नो. So it is the agent of the government you can consider. It performs banking functions such as direct transfer fund, withdrawal, deposits, etc. So its agency function is there. It's a representative of government. ये आप word लिख सकते हो. And ways and means advance. What is this ways and means advance? It is nothing but suppose government is requiring for a proper reason an advanced fund or advanced facility, then RBI can provide 90 days facility to the government to cover its short term liquidity. Government requires for the short time period or short period, it requires huge funds. Then RBI can definitely try to give that. And lastly, she has concluded, but there are so much of mistakes in this answer. Spelling, grammatical, punctual, too much errors are there. But overall structure, I liked it. Neha, very good. Out of 10 marks, I will give you 6 marks. Chalo, 6 marks de dete. Then comes the answer has been written by a Chetan. Okay. पहला उन्होंने लिखा है कि रिजर्व बैंक हैज अ सोल अथॉरिटी टू एग्जीक्यूट मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी इन इंडिया. फ्रेमवर्क, क्वालिटेटिव एंड क्वांटिटेटिव टूल्स आर देयर फॉर इकोनॉमिक स्टेबिलिटी. पर यार मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी क्या होता है वो कौन लिखेगा? हु विल राइट व्हाट इज मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी? सो इंट्रोडक्शन आई विल गिव ओनली हाफ मार्क, नॉट इवन हाफ मार्क्स, 0 marks. Quantitative instruments when I'm talking about, he's talking about CRR and SLR. CRR, SLR I explained. Repo, reverse repo, MSF, marginal standing facility. He has written that it is nothing but it's a quantitative tool. Okay, it helps banks to address liquidity mismatches for day to day operation. एक दिन के लिए उधारी ले सकते हैं बैंक. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट क्वालिटेटिव टूल्स के बारे में भी लिखा है. नाउ दिस इज वेयर नेहा से भी इसकी बॉडी आंसर की अच्छी हो जाती है. आंसर्स बॉडी इज बेटर. नेहा ओनली रोट क्वांटिटेटिव टूल्स बट शी डिड नॉट रोट क्वालिटेटिव रूल्स. So your qualitative rules are qualitative instruments are very very important. RBI का moral suasion बहुत important है. Direct action of RBI, prompt corrective action, very important. Credit rationing, very important. And then he writes those 2 points. First is RBI as a banker to the commercial banks. Okay, so banker in the sense how regulatory function is there. Still in this paragraph I did not found a very logical sequence which can tell that why RBI is called as bankers bank. Okay. Second, RBI as a lender of last resort or banker to the government. यहाँ पर भी मुझे उतना खास rock solid points मिले नहीं. The only one logical point was that RBI is responsible for selling the government securities. अरे ठीक है ना भाई सर, if RBI is selling the government security तो उसको बैंकर थोड़ी बोल सकते गवर्नमेंट का. नहीं. The main thing is ways and means advance जो उसने like स्टूडेंट ने बाद में लिखा है. The main thing is means, ways and means advance. It means that अगर गवर्नमेंट को भी उधारी कहीं पर से चाहिए, गवर्नमेंट को लोन चाहिए, इमेजिन दिस, अ नेशनल गवर्नमेंट इज रिक्वायरिंग लोन, उसको भी आरबीआई लोन दे रहा है. So it's a like it shows that how that institution is so strong in its financial domain, and that is why it's called as banker to the government. ठीक है. And then you can conclude it. ठीक है. इनका भी आंसर ठीक ही था पर इंट्रोडक्शन और कंक्लूजन में इन्होंने मार्क आया. 6 marks only from my side. Then comes a question. Brinda has written the answer. Okay. So now I felt that her introduction was great, really good. But what I felt was कि ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स और उसको हचपच बनाया है इंट्रोडक्शन को. अंडर सेक्शन 45 ZB of RBI Act of 1934, मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमिटी यूजेस सर्टन क्वालिटेटिव एंड क्वांटिटेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स. अरे सीधा बताओ ना, व्हाट इज मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमिटी? Monetary policy committee, there are this much members. Monetary policy committee is nothing but it has like this committee was found because after this particular year, the main purpose and objective of monetary policy committee is to maintain the inflation at such a level that there is proper growth also, and at the same time there is no excess increase in prices also. So it is balancing the growth and balancing your inflation. The inflation targeting for monetary policy committee has been stated between 2 to 6%. Simple. जो पता है वो सिंपल लैंग्वेज में लिखो ना, क्यों डरते हो? एंड देन डायरेक्टली शी हैज नॉट इवन एक्सप्लेन्ड द एमएसएफ. शी हैज जस्ट स्टेटेड कैश रिजर्व रेशियो. मेरा काम हो गया, मैंने बस लिख दिया कैश रिजर्व रेशियो, स्टैट्यूटरी लिक्विडिटी रेशियो. शी हैज नॉट एक्सप्लेन्ड इट, सो आई हैव कट द मार्क्स हियर. नाउ व्हाई बैंकर्स बैंक इट इज कॉल्ड? सो फर्स्ट शी इज टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट. First she is talking about the regulatory functions only. Second, she is talking about how RBI is responsible for giving loans to the bank. Third, she is talking about LF, repo rate, how these instruments are used for the overall monetary transmission policy. Okay, so monetary transmission किसी ने भी लिखा नहीं है अपने आंसर में. They should have written it. What is monetary transmission? It is nothing but suppose RBI आपके रेपो रेट, रिवर्स रेपो रेट उसको कम ज्यादा ऊपर नीचे करता है, तो loans also become expensive and cheap. So the increase and decrease in the overall monetary policy instruments, okay, directly has impacts to the normal consumer or customer also in form of loans. So remember that. Banker to the government में वही है, that is nothing but first ways and means advance, and second is RBI is responsible for selling those government security. सबने यही लिखा है because I personally know most of the people would have copied it. Then this was the answer. यार हितांशु ने बहुत बढ़िया आंसर लिखा है. Today, yes, I forgot that like the marks which he is also getting is 6 only. Like no change. Not 6, she is getting 5 marks. Okay, because उन्होंने ना तो CRR SLR को कुछ भी explain किया. The today's topper is Hitanshu, sorry. Hitanshu is getting 7.5 marks out of 10. Why is getting? Let us try to see. यही तो मैं बताने की कोशिश कर रहा था. Be simple in life. Monetary policy is action taken by RBI or monetary policy committee to check inflation of the country and take the necessary action. The overall targeting is 4% plus minus 2%, that is 2 to 6. Generally, depending on the inflation levels, monetary policy decides that either expansionary stance is there or contractionary stance is there. Simple. One of the best definitions I have felt for this particular answer. Quantitative tools में he is explaining all the tools here. बहुत अच्छी तरीके से explain किया है इस बंदे ने. Then qualitative tools also he is explaining in that. He is explaining also various other tools like OMO. उसमें यार what I felt was कि he left qualitative tools. So he could have added, but anyways no problem. He has added open market operations, RBI issuing T-bills, ways means advance. So he is stating all the things here only. Now my problem is the second part. The second part, that is why RBI is called as the banker to the commercial banks as well as to government. He has not written this part. Okay, so if that was extrapolated a little bit, I would have given more marks to him. But today, his answer actually, even though he has written half answer only, but still, its structure is really very, very great and very nice answer. Okay, overall, everybody had written like bad answers only. Let us see my answer. Okay. Reserve Bank of India plays pivotal role in maintaining the stability of Indian economy by implementing monetary policy. Simple. Next. Primary objective. What is the primary objective of monetary policy? Manage liquidity and manage inflation. Simple as that. So, now RBI acts. Now, two more questions are there. That is banker's bank and banker to the government also. So, in introduction, I tried to write about that also. That RBI acts as a banker to the commercial bank as well as it does the streamline functioning of the financial operations. So RBI has dual responsibilities to highlight its critical role in Indian economic governance. कितनी बढ़िया लाइन है. RBI का dual responsibility क्या है कि बैंक्स का भी ख्याल रखो और गवर्नमेंट का भी ख्याल रखो. तो ये आपको मतलब ये कॉन्शियसनेस एंड ये अवेयरनेस आपका होना चाहिए. Introduction is simple. Neither I have tried to define the monetary policy. Look at the level, but still my introduction is really good. Now, In body, first I'm discussing about the monetary policy instruments. First I'm talking with repo rate. I'm explaining what the repo rate is. I'm also talking about reverse repo rate. I'm talking about then cash reserve ratio, talking about SLR, OMO, and then marginal standing facility. Okay. You can also write quantitative aspects here of the quantitative instrument of the monetary policy, such as moral suasion, write about moral suasion, write about after moral suasion various other quantitative aspects are also there, so don't miss on that, please write it. Okay, but here the answer was going to be really very long, that is why I have not written it, but you can definitely write it. One more thing is there, if such lengthy answer is there for repo rate, you can explain the repo rate in one line only, explain cash reserve ratio in one line only, open market operation, marginal standing facility in one line only, so that you get space for quantitative aspects such as moral suasion, etc. Now comes the main part where major of the students couldn't write anything properly. What is that? First, second point, that is why RBI is called as banker to the commercial banks. First, lender of last resort. What do you mean by lender of last resort? It means that if any crisis situation comes in context of the finance related to bank or related to economy itself, then RBI will act as a last lender who will provide liquidity in the overall banking system. Next, regulatory and supervision authority. Commercial banks are regulated and supervised by RBI. So this becomes one of the very important point. Clearing and settlement services. RBI operates with a robust payment and settlement system. Even though your RTGS and NEFT systems are there, your majorly the overall structure and framework is under RBI only. It's not under the commercial banks. Although आपका NEFT, RTGS आप commercial banks में करते हो, but the overall framework is under RBI. Okay. Maintaining banking sector stability, it is nothing but NPAs हो गए, stress assets हो गए. So when banks are, or the people who have taken loans from the bank are turning to be insolvent or willful defaulters, at that time the financial health is dilapidated of the banks. At that time, even your Basel 3 norms are there, prompt corrective action is there. So RBI brings this sectoral stability in banking. And lastly, monetary policy transmission is there, which I told you major of the students did not wrote about it. It is nothing but how RBI increases or decreases its instrument, that is lending rates, because of repo rate, reverse repo rate, and automatically the loans in the economy become cheap or expensive. Now, why RBI is called as bankers bank? First is RBI manages government accounts. It means that whatever government accounts are there, transactions are there, disbursements of salaries, subsidies, tax collection, government का separate कोई individual treasury और bank नहीं होता है. Okay, government has no separate bank account and treasury. It is controlled by RBI itself. Okay, here example very beautiful is given that RBI efficiently handled government's fiscal disbursement and ensured timely payment for welfare scheme like Garib Kalyan Yojana. Okay, so government's treasury itself is RBI. Second, public debt management. So RBI also managed to issue bonds worth 12 lakh crores to help government during the COVID-19 relief measures. So RBI is responsible for managing government's borrowing program also. In the sense, governments want to borrow the money for short term. After COVID short term, government required money. RBI gave the loan. Then monetary and fiscal policy coordination. So monetary policy is all about what RBI is doing to control the inflation. Fiscal policy is associated with what government is doing for managing its overall balance sheets and expenditures and your receipts, that is income which is getting taxation. So this both balance is done by RBI. क्योंकि टैक्सेशन से भी जो पैसा आएगा वो आरबीआई के अपने जेब में नहीं रखेगा यार, आरबीआई सॉरी गवर्नमेंट अपनी जेब में नहीं रखेगा यार, गवर्नमेंट आरबीआई के पास रखेगा. Development of government securities market, it is nothing but RBI has the main control over the sell and buy of government securities. Advisory role to the government, RBI also acts in various financial issues such as financial deficit, inflation targeting, public finance management. इसमें RBI definitely is consultant. And foreign exchange and gold management, when we are talking about here, government like RBI also manages government's foreign exchange reserves and gold holdings. Now, after all of these points, you would have understood that why RBI is bankers bank to commercial banks and banker to the government also. Lastly, 2-3 examples have been given where RBI acts as a bankers bank and government. First is 2008 government global financial crisis, where RBI single-handedly, during 2008, Manmohan Singh were there, and single-handedly RBI handled the injection of liquidity. And even though the whole world was suffering through the ripples of global financial crisis, India did not suffer. Okay. Then 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. Here RBI also introduced targeted long-term repo operations. Why? So that various loans repayments by the borrowers that could be deferred. At the same time, the liquidity infusion could be there in the overall stagnant economy after COVID-19. Then demonetization also, RBI efficiently also managed government's currency exchange program. The demonetization of 2016 was done by Modi government, but RBI was the organization which was handling all the notes. So this is how again RBI is supporting government. And lastly, inflation control in 2013-2014, how inflation through repo rates and tightening the liquidity was controlled, because in 2013-14 it was skyrocketing. And lastly, the conclusion that how RBI is government's bank, how RBI is a banker and regulator to commercial banks, and this dual role of banker to government has actually a importance of RBI as a critical position in India's financial architecture. Okay, बहुत अच्छा आंसर लिखा था ये. Make sure try to write it. Okay, what you can learn through my answer writing is, I'm not saying that I am having great points or I write better answers, but my structure of the answer is really very very great. अगर कोई मतलब अगर दूर से भी अगर आप देखोगे ऐसे मेरे आंसर को, ये देखो, इफ यू लुक इट फ्रॉम अवे ऑल्सो, आपको लगेगा वाह यार बहुत अच्छा लिखा है. So this is what I'm trying to tell. Structure में थोड़ा improve करो. Okay. So with this we end this session. Thank you very much and see you next time. And one more thing, guys. Only 4 people wrote the answer again. So please build a habit.